What if I told you that the world you're experiencing right now isn't just some fixed stage where events randomly unfold around you? What if it's actually a living, breathing, responsive field that's constantly interacting with your consciousness in ways you've never quite noticed before? I'm not talking about anything mystical or woo woo here. I'm talking about something that operates at the intersection of quantum physics, neuroscience, and ancient wisdom traditions. Something subtle yet profoundly powerful that works through your energy and attention. Take a moment to really consider this. Everything you encounter throughout your day, from the first thing that catches your eye when you wake up to the specific ways people respond to you in conversations, none of it exists in isolation from your inner state. It's all being shaped, influenced, and co-created by something you carry within you constantly. Your awareness, your consciousness, that unique lens through which you filter and interpret every single experience. This isn't just philosophical speculation designed to sound profound. This is a perspective that's been validated by decades of scientific research, echoed by mystics throughout history, and increasingly recognized by people who are beginning to wake up to their creative power. The central insight is this: reality isn't something that simply happens to you while you passively observe. Reality flows through you, being molded and directed by where you place your attention, how you perceive each moment, and the energetic frequency you're broadcasting into the field around you. Think about all the challenges you've faced in your life, those persistent patterns that keep showing up no matter how hard you try to escape them. Those moments when you felt completely stuck, like nothing would ever shift. And conversely, those breakthrough experiences when everything suddenly clicked and life started flowing again. What if none of that was random? What if you had far more influence over how those experiences unfolded than you ever realized? What if you've been actively participating in the creation of your reality all along, but operating from a place of unconscious automation rather than conscious intention? The way you view your life, the things you consistently focus on, the emotions you habitually amplify, the internal narratives you repeat on loop in your mind. These aren't just passive mental activities with no real-world impact. They're signals being broadcast into the quantum field. They're instructions being sent out that shape what shows up in your experience. And the world around you responds to these signals, reflecting them back to you in the form of circumstances, encounters, and opportunities. Most people move through life believing they're simply reacting to whatever shows up. They never question whether those circumstances might actually be mirrors, reflecting back what they've been consistently observing and expecting. Not just with their eyes, but with their beliefs, their assumptions, their habitual emotional patterns operating beneath conscious awareness. Pause right here and think about this. Have you ever looked at something and felt it shift the moment you truly saw it? Ever walked into a room and sensed the entire atmosphere change when your attention landed on someone? If so, you've already experienced this truth directly. You've already touched the reality that attention isn't passive, it's creative. It shapes what it observes. Let me give you a useful metaphor. Imagine life as a film playing out before you. For most of your existence, you've believed you're just the actor following a pre-written script, reacting to scenes that were already determined. But what if that's only half the story? What if you're simultaneously the director, the cinematographer, the editor? What if you're holding the camera and actively choosing where to point it in each moment? Every time you focus on something, whether it's love or fear, possibility or limitation, you're not just observing neutrally, you're amplifying it, you're feeding it your life force, you're giving it the starring role in your unfolding story. Now, let me be clear about something important. This isn't about self-blame. This isn't about making yourself wrong for everything challenging that's happened. This is about recognizing your power. Because when you truly understand that your perspective shapes your reality, when you grasp that your internal state constantly influences the external world, that's when you step into your role as a conscious creator. You stop just reacting and start deliberately engaging with life from a place of intention. You didn't come to this planet just to survive and endure whatever gets thrown at you. You came to observe with intention, to fine-tune your awareness, to witness your thoughts without being controlled by them, and to consciously choose what receives your focus and what fades into the background. I know this might feel uncomfortable at first. especially if you grew up believing that reality is solid, fixed, and completely separate from your inner experience. But here's where things get fascinating. Modern physics is now confirming what ancient wisdom traditions have taught for millennia. Consciousness isn't contained inside your skull. It's a field that surrounds you, flows through you, and actively participates in shaping what you encounter. Awareness isn't passive. It engages, it interacts, it flows through every cell of your being and influences what shows up in your reality. And the moment you start noticing this dynamic, you access a kind of power that doesn't rely on force or control. It emerges through clarity, it shows up through presence, it expands with your ability to focus without judgment, to observe without immediately defining everything, to allow experiences without gripping them tightly. That's where transformation truly begins. You've been influencing your life with every assumption, every repeated thought pattern, every unconscious belief. You just didn't realize it, but now you do. And this moment could be your turning point. The moment your old way of seeing begins to crack open, where you stop asking why things keep happening to you and start exploring how you've been involved in their arrival. This shift isn't just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about moving from a passive role to an active one, from bystander to deliberate creator, from someone who just copes to someone who consciously shapes their experience. And here's what's so empowering. Nothing external needs to change first. You don't have to wait for perfect timing or ideal conditions. You already hold the power to direct your attention and assign meaning to your experiences. Understanding this doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect when it's not. It means realizing that your attention carries influence. Your focus is energy, and energy shapes outcomes. Once you learn to wield it with intention, you're not just surviving, you're designing your life. So here's my question for you. Are you ready to start observing on purpose? Can you look beyond surface appearances and become aware of what your attention has been feeding? Because once you do, things start moving. Small internal shifts become external changes. Dreams that seemed impossible begin materializing. You gain clarity, you feel lighter. Something within you awakens, that deep knowing that you're not an accident. You're here to perceive, to influence, to expand, to wake up. That path begins with becoming the observer. Now let's go deeper. Because once this doorway opens, you're ready to explore one of the most extraordinary discoveries in modern physics. Something that continues to astonish scientists and philosophers alike. I'm talking about the double slit experiment. It might sound technical, but the insight it reveals is both mind-blowing and surprisingly accessible. Most of us never learned about this in school, yet it holds one of the most powerful clues about how awareness affects reality itself. Here's what happened. Scientists were investigating how matter behaves at its smallest levels. They fired individual electrons toward a barrier with two vertical slits, with a detection screen behind it to show where the electrons landed. The expectation was straightforward. Each electron would act like a tiny particle, passing through one slit or the other, creating a pattern matching those two paths. But that's not what happened. Instead, the electrons created an interference pattern, something you'd only expect from waves, not particles. It was as if each electron split itself, went through both slits simultaneously like a ripple of possibility, and interfered with itself on the other side. That alone was mind-bending. But what truly shocked the scientists was what came next. In the comments, drop one word that captures the energy you're choosing to carry forward today. Maybe it's alignment, maybe it's flow, maybe it's trust, maybe it's power, maybe it's something uniquely yours. Let that word be a declaration, a signal you're sending not just here, but into the quantum field itself. Your word matters, your intention matters, because you matter. The moment they observed which slit each electron traveled through, the entire pattern changed. The wave-like behavior vanished instantly. Suddenly, the electrons behaved like definite particles, choosing a single path. And here's what gives me chills every time. Nothing physically touched these electrons. No contact, no interference, no force. Just the act of observation caused their nature to change. Watching alone collapsed the wave into a particle. A field of potential became one defined result. Possibility crystallized into reality. It was as if the universe acknowledged awareness, as if reality was saying, someone's watching now, time to become something specific. Does that blow your mind? Because it should. This isn't science fiction. This is what happens in controlled experiments, repeated thousands of times with the same results. Before we go further, I want to invite you into something real. If you've been feeling like something's clicking, if part of you is recognizing your power as a conscious creator, if you just had an aha moment, tap that like button. And if you want to stay connected to this space and keep growing with a community exploring these same ideas, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You're stepping into a frequency where these awakenings are our foundation. This isn't just a channel, it's a space of transformation. I'm truly glad you're here. Let's keep growing together. Now, what happened with those electrons isn't just a quirk of subatomic particles. It's a fundamental principle of how reality operates at every level. The observer doesn't just passively witness. The observer participates in determining what becomes real. Your attention, your awareness, your consciousness itself is part of the creative machinery of existence. Think about what this means for your daily life. Every moment you're focusing on something, whether it's your finances, your relationships, your health, your work, you're not just looking at something fixed and unchangeable. You're interacting with it energetically. You're influencing it. You're participating in it, becoming more solid, more defined in your experience. Most people don't realize this is happening, so they unconsciously focus on everything they don't want. They obsess over problems, replay fears, constantly observe evidence of lack and limitation. Then they wonder why nothing changes, why patterns repeat, why life feels stuck. It's because they are unknowingly collapsing possibilities into the same limited outcomes through habitual, unconscious observation. But you're starting to understand how this works, and that changes everything. Now you can observe differently. You can direct your attention with intention instead of letting it bounce randomly. You can become conscious of where you're placing your focus and what you're feeding energy to. Picture this clearly. Reality exists in what quantum physicists call superposition before you observe it. All possible versions of every outcome are present simultaneously, existing as waves of pure potential. None more real than another. Your dream life exists as potential. Your worst case scenario exists as potential. Every variation exists as potential. They're all there at once, like infinite channels on a cosmic television. Then comes observation, not passive glancing, but true quantum observation, which is energetic and vibrational. In the context of manifestation, this observation rises from within you. It emerges through your feelings, your imagination, your beliefs about what's possible, and crucially, your emotional state. The act of deeply feeling a desired future, of emotionally immersing yourself in the life you want to live, of viscerally experiencing it as if it's already real, that's equivalent to collapsing the wave function into a specific outcome. You're not just visualizing something nice, you're selecting it from the field of possibilities. You're not creating from nothing. You're aligning your internal frequency with what already exists as potential and bringing it into focus by tuning your energy to match it. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a real experience and one vividly imagined with emotion. This is neuroscience, not wishful thinking. When you picture yourself living your desired life with genuine feeling, breathing it in, seeing details clearly, sensing textures, feeling emotions, hearing sounds, speaking words as if they're happening now, your energy begins to synchronize with that experience. In that moment of full immersion, you're no longer hoping for your desire to arrive someday. You're not wanting something you lack, you're embodying it now, you're being it. You're vibrating at its frequency. This isn't just positive thinking, this is quantum alignment. This is how the wave of possibility collapses into the particle of reality. The outer world can only clarify when your inner world becomes stable. Every single day, you're already observing, you're already collapsing timelines. The problem is most people do this unconsciously. They observe through fear. They focus on what might fail. They tune into scarcity unknowingly. They repeatedly select realities mirroring those emotions. They imagine a future filled with doubt, and their body responds with tension. That tension becomes the signal. The universe, neutral and responsive, reflects that signal back, not as punishment, but as a match. Here's the transformative part. You have power to choose what you tune into. You can close your eyes and mentally walk through a scene where everything works out, where you feel free, supported, alive, calm. You can evoke the emotion of having it now, not someday, not if, but now. That emotional frequency sends a command to the quantum field, because energy speaks louder than words. When you vibrate at the frequency of your desire, you start attracting that reality. When your emotions and mental vision align, the world begins to shift. People, opportunities, timing, all synchronize with your frequency. Not because you forced it, but because you've become the version of yourself who belongs in that life. The future doesn't come to you. You rise into it, you become it, you match it. And matching is how manifestation happens. This is why feeling isn't just a byproduct, it's the language of reality. Feeling is the signal, attention is the selector. When you combine intentional attention with aligned emotion, you become a powerful creator. Now, let's talk about practical application, because understanding intellectually is one thing, but using this to transform your life is where real magic happens. You're not trying to manipulate reality or force it to bend through mental effort. That's not how this works. You're learning to become energetically coherent with the reality you prefer. You're tuning your consciousness to a specific frequency, then allowing reality to mirror that back. Think of yourself as a radio. Right now, you might be tuned to a station playing the same old songs about struggle, lack, limitation, fear. Those songs might be familiar because you've heard them so long, but they're not serving you. They're not the frequency of the life you want. So you're learning to adjust your dial, change your frequency, tune into a different station altogether, one playing songs of abundance, ease, joy, connection, possibility. When you make that internal shift, when you stabilize at that new frequency and stop bouncing between old and new, your external reality has no choice but to eventually match. It might not happen overnight, because physical reality has momentum and density, but it will shift if you maintain your new frequency consistently. How do you do this practically? It starts with conscious observation practice. You begin watching your own mind, your energy, your emotional state throughout the day without judgment. You become the observer of your inner world. You notice when you're spiraling into fear or scarcity thinking. You catch yourself rehearsing worst-case scenarios. You become aware of the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what's possible. And here's the key. When you notice these patterns, you don't beat yourself up. You don't make them mean something about your worth. You simply observe with curiosity and compassion, then gently redirect your attention to what you actually want to experience. You return to the frequency you're choosing. This practice might seem too simple to create real change, but I promise it's one of the most powerful things you can do. Every time you catch yourself in an old pattern and consciously choose differently, you're rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways. You're teaching your nervous system it's safe to vibrate at this new frequency. You're training yourself to maintain coherence even when circumstances try pulling you back. In the comments, I want you to drop one thing you deeply desire to manifest right now. Maybe it's financial freedom, maybe it's a loving relationship, maybe it's vibrant health, maybe it's a thriving career, maybe it's something uniquely yours you haven't told anyone. Let this be a declaration, a signal to the universe you're sending not just here, but into the quantum field. Your desire matters, your dreams matter, because you matter. And I'm reading every comment, so don't be shy. Let's speak it into existence together. Another crucial piece involves visualization, but not surface level visualization where you picture something for 30 seconds and move on. I'm talking about deep, embodied visualization where you enter the experience of your desired reality with all senses engaged. Set aside 10 to 15 minutes daily, ideally when you wake or before sleep, when your brain is in that receptive theta state. Close your eyes and build a scene implying your desire is fulfilled. Don't watch it like a movie. Step into it, be in it. See what you'd see from your eyes in that reality. Hear the sounds, feel the textures, smell the scents, notice the temperature. Most importantly, feel the emotions that naturally arise when this is your reality. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the excitement, the peace, the satisfaction, the joy, whatever comes up authentically. Let those emotions fill every cell. Let yourself smile. Let your body relax into that feeling state. Let it be real now. Your subconscious and energy field don't know the difference between this vivid inner experience and external reality. When you do this consistently, you're programming yourself to vibrate at the frequency of your desired outcome. You're conditioning your nervous system to feel safe in that reality. You're collapsing the wave function and selecting that timeline. Now, as you build this practice, you might encounter resistance. Your ego might pipe up with doubts. Your logical mind might say this is pointless. Old emotions might surface, grief or anger or fear buried for years. When this happens, don't panic or abandon the practice. This resistance is actually a sign you're doing something right. It means you're bumping against old programming, old beliefs, old energy ready to release. Your job isn't to fight it or suppress it. Simply observe it, acknowledge it, thank it for trying to keep you safe, then consciously return to your new frequency anyway. Think of it like updating software. When you update your computer, sometimes bugs or glitches pop up as old code conflicts with new. That doesn't mean the update isn't working. It means there's cleaning and integrating happening. Same for you. These moments of resistance are old programming trying to reassert itself before finally letting go and allowing new programming to install. Another powerful practice is energetic check-ins. Throughout your day, maybe hourly, pause for 30 seconds, take a breath and check in with your energy. Ask yourself, what frequency am I vibrating at right now? Am I aligned with what I want to create, or have I slipped back into old patterns of fear, lack, limitation? If you've drifted off course, that's fine. Don't judge it. Just acknowledge it and consciously shift back. Maybe do a quick visualization. Maybe recall a memory when you felt how you want to feel now and sink into that state. Maybe simply affirm, I'm choosing alignment in this moment. Whatever works for you is perfect. The more consistently you do these check-ins, the more you'll notice maintaining your desired frequency becomes easier and natural. It becomes your baseline instead of something you must constantly work to achieve. You embody it. It becomes who you are, not just what you do. Make sure you share this with friends and family who might need this message today. For you, it's clicking a button, but for someone struggling to understand why life keeps repeating the same patterns or desperately searching for answers about creating change, this could be the hope they've been seeking. Your act of sharing spreads consciousness, and that positive energy will support your manifestations in ways you can't imagine. I also want to talk about gratitude's power in this process, because it's one of the most potent tools for maintaining high frequency and accelerating manifestations. When you're genuinely grateful, authentically appreciating what already exists in your life now, you're sending a signal saying, I recognize abundance, I acknowledge blessings, I'm not operating from lack, and the universe responds by bringing more to feel grateful for. But here's where people get this wrong. They try forcing gratitude when actually feeling resentful or sad or angry, creating inner conflict that lowers vibration instead of raising it. Real gratitude isn't pretending everything's perfect. It's genuinely finding things in your current reality, even small things, you can authentically appreciate. Maybe you're grateful for sun through your window, for clean water, for a kind word yesterday, for your ability to breathe, for learning these tools. Start wherever you honestly are. Let authentic appreciation build naturally. As you practice consistently, your capacity for genuine gratitude expands. You notice more to appreciate, and that upward spiral raises your vibration higher, naturally attracting more abundant experiences. It's a beautiful feedback loop building on itself. Now let's address something that trips people up when first working with these principles, the manifestation gap. This is the period between shifting your energy and seeing physical evidence in external reality. Understanding this gap can mean the difference between giving up prematurely and breaking through to your desired reality. This gap exists because physical reality has density and momentum. It's like turning a massive ship in the ocean. You can't just suddenly spin the wheel and have this enormous vessel instantly pivot and change direction in that exact moment. There's a natural lag time while the accumulated momentum gradually shifts and the new direction slowly becomes established. The ship is turning, but you can't see the change immediately from where you're standing. During this gap period, many people lose faith and give up. They think, well, I've been visualizing consistently and feeling good for a whole week now, and absolutely nothing has changed in my outer circumstances. So this must not work, or I must be doing something wrong. Then they abandon the practice entirely and return to their old familiar patterns and frequencies, never realizing they were actually on the verge of a breakthrough. Understanding the mechanics of this gap changes everything. In the quantum field, changes happen instantaneously. Your frequency shift registers immediately. But physical matter, with its density and established patterns, needs time to reorganize itself. Think of it like ordering something online. The moment you click purchase, the transaction is complete in the digital realm. But you don't receive your package instantly. There's processing time, shipping time, delivery logistics. The item is on its way, even though you can't see it yet. Same principle applies to your manifestations. During this gap, faith becomes your anchor. Not blind faith in something external, but informed faith rooted in understanding quantum mechanics. You know that just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not moving toward you. The universe is reorganizing, people are being influenced, circumstances are aligning, opportunities are being created, all behind the scenes in the invisible realm before materializing in physical form. Your job during this critical period is to hold your frequency steady no matter what your current reality looks like. This is where most people fail. They let what they see convince them nothing is working, and they drop their frequency right when they're closest to breakthrough. It's like planting that seed and digging it up every day to check if anything's happening, then declaring gardening doesn't work when you don't see instant results. But here's what you need to understand. Just because you can't see evidence doesn't mean nothing's happening. The moment you shift frequency, you immediately begin collapsing a new timeline. Things are moving in the quantum field long before manifesting physically. People are being nudged to reach out. Opportunities are lining up. Circumstances are orchestrating. All happening behind the scenes in the invisible realm before materializing. Your job during this gap is maintaining frequency no matter what. Don't let current circumstances convince you nothing's changing. Don't let old reality pull you back to old frequency. Stay committed to your new vibration even without proof. This is where faith comes in, not blind faith, but informed faith based on understanding how the quantum field operates. Think of planting a seed. The moment you plant and water it, germination begins immediately underground where you can't see. The seed splits, roots form, the sprout pushes through soil. But from your perspective above ground, nothing appears happening. It would be crazy to dig up the seed daily checking if it's growing, right? That would destroy the process. You must trust natural growth laws are working even though you can't see them yet. Same principle applies to manifestations. Trust the process. Stay in your frequency. Keep observing from the state of already having what you desire. Be patient with physical reality as it catches up to your new energetic signature. Let's shift to discussing how beliefs play into this, because beliefs are essentially filters determining what frequencies you can access and maintain. If you have a deep core belief saying people like me don't get financial abundance, or I'm not worthy of love, or good things never last, then no matter how much you visualize or try feeling good, those underlying beliefs will keep pulling you back to their frequency like an anchor dragging you down every time you try to rise. This is why belief work is absolutely crucial for mastering conscious creation. It's not optional or supplementary, it's foundational. You must become intimately aware of what beliefs you're actually carrying around in your consciousness, especially the ones operating below your conscious awareness in your subconscious programming. These subconscious beliefs are like background apps running constantly on your phone, draining your battery without you even realizing they're active. These limiting beliefs were often installed when you were very young, during those formative years from birth to age 7, when your brain was primarily in theta brainwave state, essentially in a hypnotic, highly suggestible condition where you absorbed everything around you without critical filters. You didn't have the cognitive development or critical thinking skills necessary to question what you were hearing and experiencing. Maybe you absorbed these beliefs from your parents who were unconsciously repeating patterns from their parents. Maybe they came from your culture's dominant narratives about money, success, relationships, worthiness. Maybe they formed from early experiences that created neural associations your young brain generalized into rules about how reality works. Maybe they seeped in from societal messages delivered through media, education systems, religious institutions. These beliefs feel absolutely true to you because you've operated from them for so long, decades perhaps, that they've become the invisible architecture of your perception. They're like the operating system running in the background of every thought, every choice, every interpretation of events. But here's what you desperately need to realize and internalize: they're not universal truths etched into the fabric of reality. They're not facts. They're just thoughts, specific neural patterns that you or someone else thought repeatedly until they became hardwired into your neural circuitry through repetition and emotional charge. And if a thought pattern was learned through repetition, it can absolutely be unlearned and replaced through the same mechanism. If a belief was installed into your consciousness through repeated exposure, it can be updated, upgraded, or completely replaced with a new belief that actually serves your highest good. One powerful way to work with limiting beliefs is first identifying them by paying close, curious attention to your self-talk and the automatic thoughts that arise when you think about your desires or imagine yourself having what you want. These automatic thoughts are like breadcrumbs leading you to deeper belief structures. If you notice thoughts like "that's impossible for someone like me," or "I could never actually achieve that," or "people from my background don't get things like that," or "I'm just not the type of person who experiences that kind of success," you've just identified a limiting belief that's actively running in your system and influencing your frequency every single day. Once you've clearly identified a limiting belief, you can start questioning and challenging it systematically. This isn't about positive thinking or affirmations plastered over deep wounds. This is about genuine inquiry. Ask yourself, is this actually objectively true, or is it just a story I've been telling myself for years? Can I find even one example that contradicts this belief? Where did this specific belief originally come from? When did I first start believing this? Is it based on verified facts and current reality, or is it based on past experiences that don't have to determine my future? What would become possible in my life if I consciously chose to believe something completely different? How would my life change if this belief simply dissolved tomorrow? Then comes the crucial step: consciously installing a new empowering belief that serves your evolution and expansion. You might choose to adopt beliefs like, "I am inherently worthy of abundance in all forms," or "the universe is always supporting my highest good, even when I can't see it," or "I have everything I need within me right now to create the life I genuinely desire," or "doors open for me easily and effortlessly." Write these new beliefs down. Repeat them to yourself regularly, especially during your visualization practice when your brain is in that receptive state. Feel deeply into them as if they're already completely true. Actively look for evidence in your life, even small instances, that supports and validates these new beliefs. Over time, with consistent practice and emotional engagement, these new beliefs will start to feel just as real and solid as the old ones did, and your manifesting capacity will expand exponentially as a direct result. Tell me your biggest takeaway so far. Let's turn this into a conversation, not just a monologue. Comment below and let me know which part is resonating most deeply. I read every comment, and your insights might inspire someone else who needs to hear exactly what you have to say. Now, let's dive deep into practical habits and daily rituals that will help you embody all of this consistently so that conscious creation becomes your natural way of being instead of something you must constantly remember to do. Because that's the real goal here, not adding a bunch of extra tasks to your already busy life, but integrating these principles so deeply into your daily rhythms that they become who you are at your core, woven into the fabric of how you naturally move through the world. Start your day with crystal clear intention, instead of immediately reaching for your phone and flooding your fresh, receptive morning consciousness with everyone else's energy, agendas, problems, and frequencies. Those first moments after waking are sacred. Your brain waves are transitioning from the theta state of sleep into the alpha and eventually beta states of waking consciousness. This transitional window is when your subconscious is most receptive to new programming. Before getting out of bed, before checking messages or emails or social media, Take just 2 or 3 focused minutes, setting a clear, energetic tone for your entire day. Take several deep, conscious breaths, feeling your body fully and bringing your awareness into the present moment. Then ask yourself these powerful questions. What energy do I want to embody today? How do I want to feel as I move through my activities? What frequency am I consciously choosing to operate from? Maybe you choose words like flow, ease, joy, abundance, peace, power, grace, clarity, love, or whatever resonates with where you want to be energetically. Don't just think these words mentally, feel them. Let them land in your body. Then spend a full minute or two actually being in that chosen state. Don't just intellectually understand it, embody it. Feel flow moving through your body. Feel ease in your muscles and breath. Feel joy lighting up your heart center. Feel abundance as a sense of fullness in your chest. This simple practice literally programs your energy field for the entire day ahead and makes maintaining your desired frequency so much easier even when challenges inevitably arise. You're setting your baseline vibration intentionally instead of letting external circumstances set it for you. Before any important conversations or interactions throughout your day, especially ones that might be challenging or emotionally charged, pause for just 10 or 15 seconds and set a clear intention inwardly. Take one full breath cycle and notice what state you're actually in before speaking or engaging. Are you coming from fear or love? From scarcity or abundance? From reactive defense or conscious response? From ego or higher self? Just that brief moment of checking in with yourself and consciously adjusting if needed can completely transform the outcome of the interaction in ways that will surprise you. Throughout your day, practice those energetic check-ins I mentioned earlier. But let me get even more specific about how to do this effectively. You don't need to sit down and do 20-minute formal meditations every time. You can do quick check-ins literally anywhere. While brewing your morning coffee or tea, waiting for your computer to boot up and load, sitting at red lights during your commute, standing in line at the grocery store, walking from one room to another, between tasks at work. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, just pause for 15 seconds, take one conscious breath, and notice. Am I still vibrationally aligned with what I'm choosing to create? Or have I unconsciously slipped back into old default frequencies? If you're aligned, great. Acknowledge that and carry on. If you notice you've dropped into a lower frequency, don't judge yourself harshly. Just make a quick conscious adjustment and return to your chosen frequency right then and there. In the evening before sleep, take at least 5 to 10 minutes to reflect consciously on your day. This evening reflection practice is just as important as your morning intention setting. You can journal about it if that feels good and helps you process, or just mentally review. Ask yourself some key questions. What specific situations or interactions triggered reactive emotions in me today? What emotions surfaced and how intense were they? How did I respond to those triggers? Did I react unconsciously from old patterns, or did I manage to pause and respond from conscious awareness? Were there moments when I successfully stayed in alignment even though circumstances were challenging? Were there moments when I slipped back into old patterns and frequencies? Observe everything with compassionate, curious awareness, not harsh judgment. Just witness, just notice. This reflective practice strengthens what I call your observer muscle, progressively building your capacity to stay present, steady, and responsive rather than reactive. Combine this evening reflection with a brief but vivid visualization of the next day or the near future, imagining yourself moving through your life from that aligned, high-frequency state you're consciously cultivating. See yourself handling unexpected challenges with grace and equanimity. Feel yourself flowing through your day with abundance and ease. Sense the energy of confidence and clarity moving through you. Let that elevated frequency be the last energy you consciously marinate in before releasing into sleep, so your subconscious mind can process and integrate it all throughout the night, doing deep work while your conscious mind rests. Meditation doesn't have to be a big formal thing taking lots of time. It can be 5 deep breaths between meetings, a 3-second pause before responding to a triggering text, a moment of grounded presence while washing hands or eating. Every small pause you create, every act of noticing without immediately reacting, reinforces your brain's neural pathways for presence and slowly rewires your baseline vibration to operate at higher frequency. At first, I'll be honest, this might feel unfamiliar or awkward. You'll probably forget sometimes. You'll get caught up in old stories and patterns. You'll feel impatient that change isn't happening as fast as you want. All of that is completely normal. You're literally rewiring your brain, building brand new habits of observation, clarity, and non reactive awareness. Think of it like going to the gym. You don't walk in on day one and lift the heaviest weight. You start with something manageable and gradually build strength through consistent practice. If you miss a day or even a week, don't beat yourself up. Just pause, reconnect, start again. This practice isn't about achieving perfect constant awareness. It's about presence. It's about showing up again and again, even after wandering off, and choosing your frequency consciously instead of letting it be chosen by external circumstances or old conditioning. Real transformation doesn't happen through grand gestures or massive overnight changes. It happens through steady, conscious choices repeated consistently over time. You're not just learning intellectual information about how the universe operates. You're learning to flow with it in real time. You're learning to dance with reality instead of fighting against it. And that changes everything. From this new place of embodied awareness, everything starts shifting. You move through life with quiet confidence, coming from knowing you're co-creating your experience. You engage in relationships with more clarity because you're not projecting unconscious patterns all over everyone. You make decisions from alignment with your truth rather than from anxiety or fear. And you're able to hold space for yourself and others with gentle, non-judgmental awareness that allows everything to be as it is while still choosing consciously where to place focus and energy. That's true embodiment. That's what it looks like to be a quantum observer in motion, actively participating in creating your reality moment by moment. You're no longer watching your life from the sidelines like a passive bystander. You're living it with conscious, intentional presence. You're in it, with it, creating it. As you carry this awareness into daily life, let your inner observer become your guide, anchor, creative force in the world. Even as you live more consciously, understand that resistance will still show up sometimes. And when it does, it's not failure. It's part of the journey, part of integration. In fact, resistance is often a sign that you're on the right track, that you're touching something real and threatening to your old identity structures. You might find yourself forgetting to pause during the day, slipping back into autopilot mode where you're just reacting unconsciously to everything around you. You might notice old patterns resurfacing that you thought you'd already moved completely past, patterns you believed were healed and done. You might start doubting whether any of this really works, or if you're just making it all up, if it's just confirmation bias or wishful thinking. All of this is entirely natural and expected. You're not doing anything wrong when this happens. What you're actually experiencing is the natural tension that occurs between old established neural wiring and pathways and new awareness that's trying to establish itself and become your new default. This is a crucial point to understand deeply. Your brain has been running certain programs for years, maybe decades. These programs have deep neural grooves, like rivers carved into rock over millennia. When you start practicing conscious observation, you're essentially trying to carve new rivers in different directions. The old rivers don't just disappear immediately. Water keeps wanting to flow down the familiar paths. It takes consistent practice, patient repetition, to deepen the new channels until they become the natural path of least resistance. Remember, transformation isn't about reaching some perfect enlightened state where you never have another negative thought or challenging emotion. That's not realistic, and more importantly, it's not the goal. Life is inherently dynamic, constantly changing, presenting new challenges and growth edges. Transformation is about consistency and commitment to the practice. It's about returning to presence and alignment over and over and over again, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when nothing seems to be changing in your outer circumstances. It's about choosing your frequency consciously more and more often, until conscious choice becomes your new unconscious default. When you suddenly realize midday that you completely forgot to observe yourself and you've been running on reactive autopilot for hours, caught up in stress and old patterns, that realization itself is actually your return to presence. That awareness is genuine progress. That noticing is the practice actively working. The gap between losing awareness and regaining it gradually gets shorter and shorter. You might lose presence for 3 hours, then catch yourself and return. Next time it might be 2 hours, then 1 hour, then 20 minutes. Eventually, you lose presence for just a few seconds before awareness returns. That's the progressive development of conscious presence. So be genuinely gentle with yourself in those moments. Don't add an additional layer of harsh judgment and self-criticism on top of the simple forgetting. That just creates more suffering and lowers your frequency even further. Just acknowledge honestly that you drifted off course. Appreciate yourself sincerely for waking back up and noticing, and choose to come back to your consciously chosen frequency right then and there. No drama. No story about what it means. Just a simple return to presence. One common challenge that almost everyone faces is simply the relentless pace of modern life. Between work demands, relationship responsibilities, family obligations, financial pressures, health concerns, and everything else competing for your attention and energy, it's incredibly easy to forget to check in with yourself even for a few seconds. You get swept up in the momentum of constant doing, constantly responding to external demands, and before you know it, the entire day has passed without a single moment of conscious presence. This is exactly why these small, seemingly insignificant micro shifts matter so much more than trying to carve out an hour for formal meditation every single day. While extended meditation practices are absolutely beautiful and valuable when you can make space for them, what really creates sustainable transformation is integrating tiny moments of conscious awareness into the fabric of your normal daily activities. You genuinely don't need hours of silence and solitude in some perfect meditation space to practice conscious observation, although those extended formal practices are wonderful when available. What you really need, what actually creates lasting change, is moments, brief, regular moments woven throughout your day. One mindful breath before opening your phone in the morning, taking 3 seconds to center yourself before diving into the digital world. One tiny pause before automatically reacting to something that triggered an emotional response, creating just enough space to choose your response instead of defaulting to reaction. 1 second of noticing what emotion is actually moving through your body before you speak, before you respond to someone, before you make a decision. These micro moments add up exponentially over time and create absolutely massive shifts in your baseline way of being, in who you are at your core. Remember that quantum physics tells us something fascinating. A field of probabilities exists rather than fixed certainties. Every possible version of every outcome is present, existing as pure potential until one key element intervenes to collapse that potential into reality. That element is observation, but not passive observation. True quantum observation is energetic, it's vibrational. Within manifestation, this observation arises from inside you. It emerges through your feelings, your imagination, and most importantly, your beliefs about what's possible. The act of deeply feeling a future, emotionally immersing yourself in the life you want to live, is equivalent to collapsing that wave function into a specific outcome. You're not merely visualizing, you're selecting. You're not conjuring from nothing. You're aligning with what already exists as possibility and bringing it into focus by tuning your internal frequency to match it. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a real experience and one vividly imagined with emotion. This is the power of inner observation. When you picture yourself living your desired life, breathing it in, seeing it, sensing its textures, feeling its emotions, speaking the words as though they are already happening, your energy begins to synchronize with that experience. In that moment, you're no longer hoping for it, you're embodying it. This isn't wishful thinking, it's quantum alignment. The outer world only clarifies when your inner world becomes stable. Every day, you're already observing, you're already collapsing timelines. The issue is most people do so unconsciously. They observe through fear. They focus on what might fail. They tune into scarcity unknowingly. They repeatedly select realities, mirroring those emotions. They envision a future filled with doubt, and their body reacts with tension. That tension becomes the signal. The universe, neutral and responsive, reflects that signal back not as punishment, but as a match. Here's the transformative part. You have power to choose what you tune into. You can close your eyes and mentally walk through a scene where everything works out, where you feel free, supported, alive, calm. You can evoke the emotion of having it now, not someday, not if, but now. That emotional frequency sends a command to the quantum field. Because energy speaks louder than words, you start attracting that reality. When your emotions and your mental vision align, the world begins to shift. People, opportunities, timing, all start synchronizing with your frequency. Not because you forced it, but because you have become the version of yourself who belongs in that life. The future doesn't come to you. You rise into it, you become it, you match it. And matching is how manifestation happens. This is why feeling isn't just a byproduct, it is the language of reality. Feeling is the signal, attention is the selector. Now that you've absorbed all this understanding about quantum principles, observer effects, energy, frequency, and the power of your consciousness, I want to ensure you know where to go from here. Because knowledge without application is just entertainment. You have to take what you've learned and actually use it, practice it, embody it in your everyday life for it to create real transformation. If you found value in this message, if something in you recognized truth in these words, if you're feeling inspired or activated or like something clicked into place, then send this to that one friend who really needs to hear this today. You know exactly who I'm talking about. That person who's been stuck, who's been struggling, who's been asking you for advice or support. Be the blessing in their life today. Share this message with them. You're not just sharing a video, you're potentially changing the trajectory of someone's entire life. And the positive energy you put into motion through that act of sharing will come back to support your own manifestations in ways you can't even predict right now. And if you're ready to take this even deeper, if you want to explore how to maintain this frequency consistently and truly embody these principles in every area of your life, make sure you click through to the next video where we're going to dive into the specific daily practices and advanced techniques that will turn you into a manifestation powerhouse. We'll cover exactly how to handle doubt when it creeps in, how to accelerate your manifestations, and how to recognize the signs that your desires are already on their way to you. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. I'll see you there.